Oh, hello there, people. Once again, I'm here for the Cariboo, chilcoltin critical thinkers, people, and I want to explain because people have been saying to me, Andrew, what's wrong with Dave Suzuki? Isn't he cool? Well, you know what? He's still cool. I still like him, except for the fact that he's a naturalist, environmentalist, as opposed to a science-based, evidence-based environmentalist. Right. And what I mean by that, a naturalist, environmentalist, it's a philosophy, it's an ideology that's self refuting, it disputes itself, uh, because it's actually an outdated philosophy. Uh, Let me put it this way. Uh, about 100 years ago or so, there was no moose in the Cariboo Jacotan, no moose at all, right? That's because they lived in a different area. They lived like over there or something, right? They didn't live here, right? And so, but out here in this area, we had like the woodland caribou and deer and animals like that, right? So moose comes into this area, and now it's established its area in this spot. And after a couple of generations of humans living here, to from their perspective, it's perfectly natural to see a moose in his backyard, right? And but what they're finding out now is that woodland caribou and moose don't get along. Wherever moose show up, the woodland caribou move out. And no one really knows. There's several theories why that is. Competing territory. I don't know. Maybe they don't. Maybe they don't like each other. You know, uh, uh, racism amongst moose and caribou. I don't know. I don't know. Right, but whenever moose show up, the woodland caribou move out, and so one could argue like, why can't we all get along? No. The thing is this is what I mean by how a naturalist ideology as an environmentalist isn't science based, it's philosophy based. It's built an assumption of what we think natural is. What is nature? Well, nature's always dynamic. It's always changing and adapting, right? It's like saying, "Ooh, Native Indian people live in teepees and they wear moccasins, and uh, they run around with spears, right? Okay, maybe 100 years ago they did. No, more than 100 years ago they did, but they don't do now, right? It's like at one time, Native people never even rode horses. Now they do ride horses, right? Because they're it's like the natural reality that that everything's always in a constant flux of change, constant flux of adapting, and the ones who cooperate the most, the ones that are smart, adapt and cooperate and evolve. Nothing is ever static. Otherwise, we'd still be living in the dinosaur age and nothing would change, right? Nature's always changing. And here's the other thing that annoys me. I don't know. I don't understand it. We've heard of like bananas and corn and big red tomatoes and stuff like that, and we think of that as perfectly natural fruits and vegetables, right? Oh, my poodle dog is perfectly natural. Well, a dog is not natural. A banana is not natural. They're technically, by definition, called ASOs. ASOs, like we've heard of GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Ooh, it sounds scary. ASO is basically a similar method. It's called an artificially selected organism. Or did I say organism? But anyways, uh, for example, you know what's weird? Weird. Okay, all dogs come from wolves. Well, here's something I found interesting. You look it up, Google it, check it yourself. Right? All the genetics genes that make a dog that's and so he's not a wolf tend to be associated with mental disorders. You mean for a dog, right? For a wolf, I mean, right? They took all the bad genes that make a wolf a bad wolf, I suppose, unhealthy wolf, right? And it develops into a dog. right? I found that rather ironic. That's why we got these poodles that are like nervous, gonna have a heart attack because he's so anxiety, right? That's all the inbreeding. It's basically inbreeding. Thoroughbred horses. The term thoroughbred for thoroughbred horse is actually a slang for you know what it really means? It means inbred. Inbred. Thoroughbreds means inbreds. You know what? Veterinarians are so upset with dog breeds now. They want certain breeds banned completely. And I'm not talking about pit bulls. I'm talking about pugs. Because their eyes are so big that they're literally, every time a pug sneezes, an eyeball falls out. Right? St. Bernards, their skulls are so misshaped that when they reach a certain age, it squeezes their brain, right? And they get all these, they die. That's why certain dog breeds have very short lifespans because of all the inbreeding. Because the ASOs are unnatural, right? That's why we always see, they say dumb cow. Well, actually, cows aren't that dumb, but I'm just saying that ASO. You know what? Here's another interesting thing about GMO, or no, yeah, GMOs, because that's what humans are. GMOs are technically more natural because we find it in nature all the time. We don't see ASOs in nature all the time. That's something that humans have created, humans alone, and we never see it in nature. Any ASOs, conventional, like say tomato plants that we have or dogs that we have. If we were just left to their own devices in the wild, most dogs would either die out or revert back to wolves. The tomato plant, bugs would eat them all up, and they would revert back to their original form that the tomato plant used to be. And it's nothing to what it looks nowadays. Same thing with corn. Nothing what it looks like nowadays. Corn in its original form doesn't even barely look edible, right? So, but the point is though, so we ASOs, things that we see conventionally, food or animals, domestic animals, are unnatural. We never see it in nature. GMOs we see in nature all the time because it happens naturally in nature, right? In fact, here's a really trippy thing. A huge portion of the genes in the human's genetic code, huge portions are, get this, virus related. The thing that makes us not or not an ape is associated with viruses that have injected genetics into our genome, making us human. Humans are GMOs. That's what humans are. Right, and those viruses were probably related to sexual transmission diseases that weren't necessarily killing you. Just viruses. Well, just think of a bunch of horny no, not cavemen. They weren't even humans yet, but a whole bunch of horny primates having orgies and sex. All these transmitted sexual diseases, right? And these viruses injecting genetic codes from foreign species into the egg or developing fetus stuff. They're creating GMOs naturally, creating the human species. It's what separates humans from other primates. Right? So humans are GMOs. Those yummy organic tomatoes that you're picking from the gardens, totally artificial, not natural, right? And David Suzuki refuses to admit this. I mean, he might now, but before he would not, right? But this is true, and it's everything I said I could prove. There's tons of research, billions of research with names behind it and stuff like that. You know, it's not no quasi fake pseudoscience thing, right? This is legit hard science. And the scary thing is that they're creating GMO crops that uses, like for example, organic crops or even conventional gardens, right? They take about like I can't remember the exact numbers, but I'll make up one. It's like 10 acres of organic food, right? produces this much food, this much water, right? Well, GMO type 30 acres. Or actually, I'm saying this in reverse. You use less land, less nutrients, less water to produce more crops in less area space, more nutritional crops with less or no pesticides. Organic crops still use pesticides. Organic crops don't have to label them the pesticides, right? They could just use the organic version of the synthetic versions of pesticides and still spray. And in some cases, even use synthetic pesticides, still spray and not label it, right? And that's with organic crops, and also with conventional crops, right? They may label certain pesticides they use, right? But there's lots that they don't label because of these weird mixed up laws. And besides, a lot of these pesticides overuse is largely not farmers. It's actually out in the cities and all these people with this farmer market stuff, right? Yes, they're using lots of stuff, and I mean, in like organic pesticides, for example, still kills bees dead, as opposed to synthetic pesticides, if used properly, do not kill bees. They do not, right? Because if you follow the instructions, they don't kill bees, and you're not overspraying like a lot of these oversprays are found in near cities, right, or suburban communities, right, and they leak into the water and stuff and collect there, right? That's where all these problems are coming from. It's not it's not these farmers that are doing it. They're following the instructions. They're following the law. In fact, pesticide use have gone way down, especially with the new instruments and inventions they come across with these drones that fly down up and down rows of crops, and they zap with UV rays, killing weeds or pests dead without even any pesticides. Some have certain ability to like see a sick plant and zap just the affected area and not other areas. I mean, with actual pesticides instead of the UV thing, right? So it very limits the pesticide use. So where's all these pesticides stuff coming from? Where's it coming from? It's not coming from the farmers as the environmentalists, naturalist environmentalists trying to make it sound like. No, it's coming from the cities. That's where it's coming from or towns and stuff, and all these people spraying their front lawns and stuff like that. That's where it's coming from, not from the farmers. They're unfairly being blamed for this, and that's the other issue that needs to be pointed out and people made to understand. Now remember what I said. GMO crops use less pesticides or no pesticides. They use less land area space, right? And they use less water, as opposed to organic or conventional crops, which uses more land space and more water and more pesticides. So think, as a scientific-based environmentalist, it is your duty to make the right choice. Don't follow the flaws of an ideology, right? Be a free thinker and actually care about the environment and make a difference. So understand the argument properly, right? David Suzuki is not explaining things right, and there's a lot more, especially when it comes to like these fish farms. He's not, and he's scared of the GMO salmon too. That's a lot of big issue. Like, I'm against fish farms in the ocean. Yes, I agree with that. But fish farm on land, perfectly safe, zero pollution. Right? That's the important part. Zero pollution. GMO or not, zero pollution. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you.